The marketplace on Station Kraveth smelled like a mixture of exotic spices, engine oil, and something Lieutenant Maya Torres could not quite identify. She walked 3 steps behind Ambassador Claire Bennett, her eyes constantly scanning the crowded corridors. Hundreds of alien species moved through the trading hub, some barely reaching her waist while others towered over her like living mountains. Maya had been a combat instructor in the Earth Defense Force for 6 years. She had trained thousands of soldiers in hand-to-hand combat, weapons handling, and survival tactics, but this was her first assignment as a diplomatic escort. Captain Helen Ortega had chosen her specifically because Maya could handle herself in dangerous situations without starting an intergalactic incident. At least, that was the plan. "This place is fascinating," Claire said, stopping at a stall selling what appeared to be glowing crystals. The vendor, a 6-armed creature covered in purple scales, chittered excitedly and began displaying his wares. Maya positioned herself where she could watch both the ambassador and the surrounding crowd. Station Kraveth sat in the outer fringe territories, far from any government control. Pirates, smugglers, and mercenaries called this place home. The station authorities maintained just enough order to keep the trading flowing, but violence was common. A group of Vrask warriors passed nearby, their gray scales catching the artificial light. They stood nearly 7 feet tall, with powerful builds and faces that reminded Maya of Earth's ancient dinosaurs. The Vrask were known throughout the galaxy as one of the most aggressive predator species. They respected strength above all else and viewed most other species as prey. Maya had read the briefing files. The Vrask operated on strict dominance hierarchies. Physical contact, especially grabbing or touching another being's shoulder, was how they established rank. Refusing such contact was considered a challenge. Accepting it meant acknowledging the other as superior. The files had advised diplomats to simply avoid the Vrask when possible. Claire finished her conversation with the crystal vendor and moved deeper into the marketplace. Maya followed, noting 3 more Vrask warriors lounging near a food stall. They watched the crowd with the lazy confidence of apex predators. "Ambassador, perhaps we should return to the ship," Maya suggested quietly. "We have been here for 2 hours. The cultural exchange report should have enough material." "Just a few more minutes," Claire replied. "I want to visit that textile merchant I heard about. The one selling Nazirian silk." Maya nodded, but kept her hand near the plasma pistol on her hip. Earth had spent 5 years negotiating for permission to trade in the outer fringe. This diplomatic mission was supposed to cement those relationships. Starting a fight would destroy years of careful negotiation. They turned down a narrower corridor. The crowd thinned here, and Maya immediately felt her instincts warning her. Fewer witnesses.
Less security.
She moved closer to Claire. "Ambassador, we should take a different route." Before Claire could respond, a massive shape stepped out from a side passage, blocking their path. A Vrask warrior, bigger than the others Maya had seen, stood directly in front of them. His scales were darker, almost black, with scars running across his arms and chest. A predator's smile showed rows of sharp teeth. "Human females," the Vrask said in heavily accented standard language, "far from your small blue world." Maya gently moved Claire behind her. "We are here on diplomatic business. Please let us pass." "Diplomatic," the Vrask repeated, as if tasting the word. "I am Skaroth, enforcer for this sector of the station. All who do business here must show proper respect." 2 more Vrask appeared from the shadows, flanking Skaroth. They were younger, smaller, but still formidable. Maya's combat training analyzed the situation instantly. 3 opponents, confined space, civilians nearby. Fighting was the last option, but she prepared herself mentally just in case. "We mean no disrespect," Maya said calmly. "We simply wish to complete our visit and return to our ship." Skaroth took a step forward. "Respect must be demonstrated. This is Vrask territory. You follow Vrask customs." Maya knew what was coming, the shoulder grab. If she let him do it, she would be marking humans as subordinate to the Vrask. Every species watching would see it. Earth's reputation in the outer fringe would be damaged before their trading relationship even began, but if she refused, it would be viewed as a challenge. "We respect your customs," Claire said from behind Maya, her diplomatic training taking over, "but we are guests of the station authority." "Surely we can find a way to honor both our cultures." Skaroth laughed, a harsh sound like rocks grinding together. "Pretty words. But words are weak. Strength is what matters." He reached out suddenly, his large hand moving toward Maya's shoulder. In Vrask culture, this was the moment when the weaker being was supposed to remain still, accepting their place in the hierarchy. Maya's body reacted before her mind could fully process the decision. 6 years of training, thousands of hours of repetition, muscle memory built through endless practice. It all came together in less than a second. As Skaroth's hand touched her shoulder, Maya shifted her weight to her back leg. Her left hand came up and grabbed his wrist, pulling him slightly forward and off balance. Her right hand moved to his elbow and she rotated her hips, using his own momentum and grip against him. The leverage was perfect, the angle was exact, the technique was flawless. The sharp crack echoed through the corridor like a gunshot. Skaroth's collarbone snapped cleanly. The Vrask enforcer stumbled backward, his face contorted in shock and pain. He clutched his shoulder, unable to understand what had just happened. One moment he had been asserting dominance, the next moment he was injured and retreating. The entire marketplace seemed to freeze. Dozens of aliens stopped what they were doing and stared. The two younger Vrask warriors stood motionless, their eyes wide with disbelief. A human female, barely over 5.5 feet tall, had just broken the bones of one of the station's most feared enforcers. She had done it in under a second, with no weapons, using nothing but technique and timing. Maya immediately raised her hands in a non-threatening gesture. I meant no permanent harm. He grabbed me, and I defended myself. This was not an attack, but the damage was done, not just to Skaroth's collarbone, but to something far more important in Vrask culture. His pride, his honor, his position in the hierarchy. Skaroth roared in pain and fury. The sound brought station security running. Within seconds, armored guards surrounded them, weapons drawn. Maya slowly placed her hands behind her head, knowing that resisting would only make things worse. You will pay for this, human, Skaroth growled, still clutching his injured shoulder. My clan will demand justice. Your blood will wash away this dishonor. As the security guards escorted Maya and Claire toward the detention area, Maya caught sight of dozens of alien faces watching from the shadows. Some looked shocked, others looked impressed. A few looked calculating, as if reassessing everything they thought they knew about humans. Maya had broken more than a collarbone in that corridor. She had broken assumptions about human weakness that had stood for years. The question now was whether she had saved Earth's reputation or destroyed it completely. The detention area on Station Kravith was a cold, gray room with transparent walls. Maya sat on a metal bench, watching aliens walk past and stare at her like she was some kind of exotic animal. Some pointed. Others made gestures she did not understand. Word had spread quickly about what happened in the marketplace. Ambassador Claire Bennett had been released after 2 hours of questioning. The station authorities determined she had done nothing wrong. Maya, however, remained in custody while they decided what to do with her.
She replayed the incident in her mind. The grab.
The shift. The snap. Everything had happened exactly as she had trained for thousands of times. Defense against a larger opponent attempting to control through superior grip strength. The technique was basic, something she taught to first-year students. But the consequences were anything but basic. The door to the detention area opened, and Captain Helen Ortega walked in, her face tight with stress. She was a tall woman in her 50s, with gray hair pulled back in a strict bun. She had commanded the HSS Horizon for 12 years and had navigated countless diplomatic situations, but her expression told Maya this one was different. Lieutenant Torres, Helen said, sitting down across from her. We have a problem. The Vrask initiated contact. I have reviewed the security footage. Your response was textbook self-defense. Helen rubbed her temples. Unfortunately, textbook self-defense just created an intergalactic incident. The Vrask are not happy. Maya felt her stomach tighten. What are they demanding? Everything, Helen said with a bitter laugh. At first, they wanted you arrested and charged with assault. Then they wanted you expelled from the station permanently. Now they are demanding something much worse. Before Helen could continue, the door opened again. Claire entered, followed by a tall alien that Maya had never seen before. He had smooth gray skin, 4 arms, and large black eyes that seemed to see everything at once. He wore elaborate robes marked with symbols of authority. This is Magistrate Vex, Claire explained. He oversees legal matters on the station. Magistrate Vex's voice sounded like wind chimes, melodic but somehow cold. Lieutenant Maya Torres, your actions have created a significant situation. The Vrask clan has invoked ancient laws that govern disputes on this station. What kind of laws? Maya asked. The Vrask operate under a strict honor code, Vex explained. When one warrior injures another, the matter must be resolved according to their traditions. Skaroth's defeat has brought shame, not just to him, but to his entire clan. His clan leader, Vortak, has made a formal demand. Maya exchanged glances with Captain Ortega. What kind of demand? Trial by combat? Vex said simply. You must face a Vrask warrior in the station arena. If you win, the matter is settled and honor is restored. If you lose, well, the Vrask typically do not show mercy to defeated opponents. The room fell silent. Maya felt her heart pounding but kept her face neutral. She had trained for combat her entire adult life, but this was different. This was not a training exercise or even a real battlefield where she had backup and support. This was a gladiator match with her life on the line. That is unacceptable, Helen said firmly. Lieutenant Torres was defending herself. She should not have to fight for her life because she refused to be dominated. Magistrate Vex's expression did not change. I agree the situation is unfortunate. However, Station Kraveth exists in the Outer Fringe specifically because it is beyond the reach of galactic law. Here, local customs rule. The Vrask are one of the most powerful groups on this station. If we refuse their demand, they will ban all human trading vessels from the station. Permanently. Claire leaned forward. Surely there must be another way. A fine, perhaps, or some form of compensation. The Vrask do not accept monetary compensation for matters of honor, Vex replied. They view such offers as further insult. Combat is the only resolution they will accept. Maya stood up and walked to the transparent wall. Outside, she could see the bustling station corridors. Dozens of species going about their business. Earth had worked so hard to establish a presence here. Trading rights in the Outer Fringe meant access to resources and technology that could benefit billions of people back home. One broken collarbone might destroy all of that. When would this trial by combat take place? Maya asked quietly. Lieutenant, you do not have to do this, Helen said. We can find another solution. Can we? Maya turned to face her captain. If I refuse, humans lose trading rights here. How many other species will see that as weakness? How many doors will close for Earth because we back down from a challenge? You could die, Claire said softly. I could, Maya agreed, but I could also win. I broke Skaroth's collarbone in under a second. Maybe that means something. Magistrate Vex tilted his head, studying Maya with those large black eyes. The combat would take place in 3 days. That gives you time to prepare. It also gives the Vrask time to build anticipation. They like spectacle. Who would I fight? Maya asked. Vortak will choose a champion from his clan. It will not be Skaroth, as his injury prevents him from fighting, but it will be someone skilled. The Vrask do not select weak warriors for matters of honor. Helen stood up and put a hand on Maya's shoulder. I cannot order you to do this. This has to be your choice. Maya thought about her training. Years of studying different martial arts, judo, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, boxing, Muay Thai, and dozens of other styles. She had learned to fight bigger, stronger opponents by using technique and leverage. The Vrask were stronger than humans, but strength was not everything. I will do it, Maya said, but I want 3 days to study Vrask fighting techniques. I need access to any available footage of their warriors in combat. Magistrate Vex nodded. That can be arranged. The Vrask have no objection to you preparing. They are confident in their superiority. We will see about that, Maya said quietly. After Vex left, Captain Ortega pulled up a chair next to Maya. You understand what you just agreed to? This is not a training exercise. If you lose, I cannot protect you. I know, Captain. But if I run, what does that say about humans? That we talk tough but flee when challenged? I would rather die fighting than live knowing I cost Earth its future in the Outer Fringe. Helen smiled sadly. You sound like a soldier, a damn good one. Then let me be a soldier. Give me 3 days and I will show these Vrask what humans are capable of. As Maya was escorted back to the HSS Horizon under guard, she noticed something interesting. Aliens in the corridors watched her differently now. Not with contempt or dismissal, but with curiosity. Some even showed what might have been respect. News of the challenge had already spread throughout the station. Bookmakers were taking bets. The odds, she learned later, were 50-1 against her survival. Maya smiled. She had faced worse odds in training exercises. The next 3 days would determine not just her fate, but possibly the fate of human-alien relations in the entire Outer Fringe. She intended to make those 3 days count. The arena at the center of Station Kraveth was much larger than Maya had expected. Thousands of aliens filled the circular stands, their various voices creating a sound like ocean waves crashing against rocks. Maya stood in a small preparation room beneath the arena floor, listening to the crowd above her feet. 3 days had passed quickly. She had spent every waking hour studying footage of Vrask combat. Dr. Lucas Grant, the ship's medical officer, had helped her understand their physiology. The Vrask were stronger and faster than humans, with denser muscle tissue and thicker bones. But they had weaknesses too. Their fighting style relied heavily on intimidation and overwhelming force. They grabbed, they crushed, they used their superior strength to dominate opponents. Their techniques were effective but predictable. They followed patterns that had been used for thousands of years. Maya had trained in over a dozen different martial arts. She knew that predictability was a weakness, no matter how strong the opponent. The door to her preparation room opened. Captain Ortega entered, followed by Claire and Lucas. They all wore worried expressions. "The crowd is huge," Helen said. "I have never seen the arena this full. Representatives from at least 30 different species are here to watch." "No pressure," Maya said with a weak smile. Lucas stepped forward and checked the medical monitor on her wrist. "Your heart rate is elevated but stable. How do you feel?" "Terrified and ready at the same time," Maya admitted. "Is that normal?" "Completely normal," Lucas said. "Fear keeps you alert. Just remember everything we discussed about Vrask physiology. Their neck joints are less flexible than ours. Their knees bend only one direction. Use that." Claire handed Maya a small device. "This is a translator so you can understand anything said in the arena. The rules are simple. Fight until one combatant cannot continue or submits. No weapons beyond your own body. The Vrask champion will have the same restrictions." "Have they announced who I am fighting?" Maya asked. Helen nodded grimly. "His name is Krevak. He is Vortok's personal bodyguard and has never lost a fight. The betting odds have gotten worse. Now they are at 100 to 1 against you." Maya stood and rolled her shoulders, loosening her muscles. She wore light combat gear, flexible clothing that would not restrict her movement. Her hands were wrapped in protective tape, and her hair was tied back tightly. "I appreciate everything you have all done to prepare me," Maya said. "But I need to focus now. I need to get into the right mindset." They understood. Each of them touched her shoulder or squeezed her hand, offering silent support. Then they left her alone with her thoughts. Maya closed her eyes and breathed deeply, in through the nose, out through the mouth. She visualized the fight, imagined different scenarios, planned her responses. Her instructors had always taught her that the fight was won in the mind before it was won in the body. A loud horn sounded above. The crowd noise swelled. It was time. Guards escorted Maya through a tunnel and up a ramp. Bright lights hit her eyes as she emerged into the arena. The roar of thousands of alien voices washed over her like a physical force. She walked to the center of the circular fighting space, her legs steady despite her racing heart. The arena floor was covered in sand. The walls were high, topped with energy barriers to protect the crowd. Magistrate Vex stood on a raised platform, his forearms spread wide. "Citizens of Station Kravith," Vex's amplified voice echoed through the space. "We gathered today to witness trial by combat. The human Maya Torres has injured a Vrask warrior and must answer for this offense according to ancient law." The crowd responded with mixed reactions. Some cheered, others made sounds of disapproval. Maya spotted the diplomatic box where Helen and Claire sat surrounded by representatives from various species. They all watched intently. Another horn sounded. From the opposite side of the arena, a massive door slowly opened. Krevak emerged, and the Vrask sections of the crowd erupted in cheers. He stood nearly 8 feet tall, his gray scales gleaming under the lights. Scars covered his arms and chest, each one a testament to previous battles. His muscles rippled as he walked, and his eyes locked onto Maya with predatory focus. He was twice her size and probably 3 times her weight. He looked like he could snap her in half without effort. Maya forced herself to breathe normally. Size did not matter. Strength did not matter. Technique and timing were everything. Krevak reached the center of the arena and roared a deafening sound that made some aliens in the crowd cover their ears. He beat his chest with both fists, then pointed at Maya and made a gesture that clearly meant he intended to destroy her. The crowd loved it. The noise grew even louder.
Maya simply stood and waited.
She did not roar back. She did not make threats or gestures. She centered herself and observed her opponent. Magistrate Vex raised one of his arms. "The rules are established. Fight until one cannot continue or submits. Honor will be satisfied through combat. Let the trial begin." He dropped his arm, and the arena fell into expectant silence. Krevak immediately charged forward, covering the distance between them in seconds. Maya had studied this exact tactic. The Vrask liked to overwhelm opponents with an initial rush of power and speed. She waited until the last possible moment, then sidestepped smoothly. Krevok's massive hands grabbed empty air where she had been standing. His momentum carried him forward, and Maya helped him along with a light push to his back, sending him stumbling into the sand. The crowd murmured in surprise. It was a small thing but symbolic. The human had made the mighty Vrask warrior miss. Krevok spun around, anger flashing in his eyes. He approached more carefully this time, arms spread wide to prevent her from dodging. He lunged and managed to grab Maya's arm. His grip was incredibly strong, exactly as she had expected. Instead of trying to pull away, Maya stepped toward him, removing the tension. She used her free hand to strike his elbow joint at a specific angle, forcing his arm to bend. Before he could adjust, she dropped her weight and rotated, using a classic judo throw. Krevok's own grip on her arm became the leverage point. His massive body flipped through the air and crashed into the sand with tremendous force. The arena exploded with shocked reactions. Some aliens leaped to their feet. Others made sounds of disbelief. The Vrask sections fell completely silent. Maya released his arm and stepped back, giving him space to stand. She had hurt his pride, but not his body. Not yet. Krevok rose slowly, sand falling from his scales. He stared at Maya with new understanding. She was not prey. She was an opponent who knew how to fight. He roared again, but this time it was not for show. It was genuine fury. He charged again, but with more control. His attacks came faster now, a combination of grabs and strikes. Maya blocked what she could and avoided what she could not block. Every time he grabbed her, she used joint manipulation to break his grip or redirect his force. The fight became a dance. Krevok's power against Maya's technique. His predictable patterns against her constant adaptation. Maya's lungs burned as she circled away from another powerful strike. Krevok's fist had passed inches from her face, close enough that she felt the air pressure. The fight had been going for 10 minutes and every muscle in her body screamed for rest, but she could not rest. Not yet. Krevok was breathing heavily too. His attacks had slowed slightly and Maya noticed him favoring his left side where she had landed several precise strikes to his ribs. The Vrask warrior was strong and skilled, but he was fighting the same way his people had fought for thousands of years. Maya changed her approach constantly. One moment she used judo throws, the next moment boxing footwork, then shifting to joint locks from Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Krevok could not predict what she would do next because she herself did not follow a single pattern. She saw an opening. Krevok overextended on a grab, and Maya caught his arm. She pivoted her hips and applied pressure to his elbow joint, forcing it to bend in a way nature had not intended. Krevok roared in pain, and Maya increased the pressure, driving him down to one knee. She had him in a perfect armbar. One more second of pressure and his shoulder would dislocate. The crowd held its collective breath. The fight was essentially over. Maya had won. But instead of finishing the move, Maya released his arm and stepped back. She waited for Krevok to stand, giving him the choice to continue with honor or submit. Krevok clutched his arm, confusion clear on his face. In Vrask culture, you defeated your enemy completely. You showed no mercy until they begged for it. But this human had given him a chance to recover. He stood slowly, respect replacing some of the anger in his eyes. He bowed his head slightly, acknowledging Maya's skill and mercy. Then he raised his hand in submission. The arena erupted in chaos. Half the crowd cheered wildly, while the other half roared in anger and disbelief. A human had defeated a Vrask champion, and she had done it without causing permanent injury. Maya's legs nearly gave out from exhaustion, but she forced herself to remain standing. She returned Krevok's bow, showing respect to a worthy opponent. Magistrate Vex rose from his seat. The trial by combat is complete. Maya Torres has defeated the Vrask champion. According to the laws of this station, honor has been satisfied. The human is free to go, and all charges are dismissed. Maya felt relief wash over her. She had done it. Earth's trading rights were protected, and she had survived. But that relief lasted only seconds. A massive roar from the Vrask section of the arena cut through the celebration. A figure stood in the diplomatic box, his presence commanding immediate attention. He was enormous, even for a Vrask, with scales so dark they were almost black. Scars covered his body like a map of countless battles. Clan leader Vortak. He jumped from the diplomatic box, falling 20 feet and landing in the arena with a crash that shook the sand. The crowd fell silent as he walked toward the center, his eyes fixed on Maya. Captain Ortega stood in the diplomatic box, shouting something, but Maya could not hear the words over the pounding of her own heart. Vortak stopped 10 feet from Maya. When he spoke, his voice carried across the entire arena without needing amplification. "You have defeated Krivak." "This is true. But you have not defeated me." Magistrate Vex's voice came through the speakers. "Clan leader Vortak, the trial is complete. The law has been satisfied." "The law has been satisfied," Vortak agreed, "but my honor has not. This human broke the bones of my enforcer. She defeated my champion. These insults cannot stand unanswered." Maya's exhausted mind raced. She could barely stand after fighting Krivak. How could she possibly fight another battle, especially against someone even stronger? Vortak raised his arms to the crowd. "I invoke the ancient right of clan combat. Let this human face 3 of my warriors simultaneously. If she survives, her victory will be acknowledged by all Vrask. If she falls, then proper order will be restored." The crowd exploded with reactions. This was unprecedented. Magistrate Vex consulted frantically with other officials. Captain Ortega was shouting and pointing, clearly protesting. But Maya knew the truth. If she refused now, everything she had accomplished would mean nothing. The Vrask would see it as human weakness. Other species would question Earth's resolve. All the pain, all the effort, would be wasted. She looked up at the diplomatic box and caught Helen's eye. The captain was shaking her head, telling her not to do this. But Maya saw something else in the crowd. Representatives from dozens of species watched intently. Not just the powerful predator races, but smaller species too. Species that had been bullied and dominated by the Vrask for years. They were not just watching a human fight. They were watching to see if the weak could stand against the strong. Maya turned to face Vortak. "I accept." The crowd went wild. Helen buried her face in her hands. Claire looked like she might faint. But Maya saw some of the smaller species in the crowd stand and cheer. Magistrate Vex spoke again, his voice tight with concern. "This is highly irregular, but clan combat is within Vortak's rights to invoke. Maya Torres has accepted the challenge. 3 Vrask warriors will enter the arena." 3 doors opened around the arena's perimeter. From each one emerged a Vrask warrior, younger than Krivak, but still formidable. They spread out, surrounding Maya in a triangle formation. Lucas's voice came through a small speaker in Maya's ear, an emergency communication device he had insisted she wear. "Maya, your body cannot take much more. Your muscle fatigue is at critical levels. You need to end this quickly." "Any suggestions on how?" Maya whispered back. "Use the environment. Use them against each other. And remember, you do not have to beat them all at once. You just have to survive." The 3 warriors moved in simultaneously. Maya's exhausted mind shifted into pure survival mode. All her training, all her experience, everything she had learned came together. She ran, not away from them, but toward the warrior on her left. He expected her to fight or dodge. He did not expect her to sprint directly at him. She slid under his grabbing arms and rolled behind him, putting his body between her and the other 2 warriors. One of the other warriors charged without thinking. He collided with his fellow Vrask, and both went down in a tangle of limbs. The 3rd warrior was more careful, but Maya used the fallen warriors as obstacles, keeping them between her and her opponent. The crowd was on its feet now. This was not dignified combat. This was a desperate fight for survival, and it was more exciting than anything they had seen in years. The 2 fallen warriors separated and got back up. Now all 3 coordinated better, approaching from different angles. Maya could not keep them all in front of her. One grabbed her from behind. His arms wrapped around her in a crushing bear hug. Maya felt her ribs compress painfully. But she had trained for this exact situation. She dropped her weight suddenly, making herself heavier. Then she lifted her legs and planted both feet on another warrior's chest, pushing hard. The momentum broke the rear grip and sent both warriors stumbling. Maya hit the sand hard, the impact driving the air from her lungs. Her vision blurred for a moment, and she tasted blood in her mouth. Every part of her body hurt. Her muscles felt like they were tearing apart with each movement. But she forced herself to roll away as a massive foot slammed down where her head had been. The sand exploded from the impact. Maya scrambled to her feet, swaying slightly.
The 3 Vrask warriors circled her again. They were learning.
They moved more carefully now, communicating with small gestures and sounds. They had realized that rushing at her individually only played into her strengths. Maya's mind raced through her options. She was too tired for complex techniques. Her reactions were slowing down. One more mistake and this fight would be over. She needed to change the game completely. Maya started moving laterally, forcing the warriors to adjust their positions. She was looking for something specific in their formation. There. The warrior on the right was slightly ahead of the others, his eagerness making him break the pattern. She feinted toward him. and he took the bait, lunging forward. Maya dropped low and swept his legs, but instead of trying to follow up with a submission, she rolled past him toward the second warrior. The second warrior grabbed for her, but Maya used his own grip to pull herself up and over his shoulder. She landed behind him just as the first warrior, recovering from the leg sweep, charged forward to help his companion. The two Vrask collided chest to chest with a sound like thunder. Both stumbled backward, dazed. The third warrior saw his opportunity and rushed at Maya from the side. She was too slow this time. His shoulder caught her in the ribs, lifting her off the ground. She flew through the air and crashed into the arena wall. Pain exploded through her body. She slid down the wall and lay in the sand, gasping for breath. The crowd's roar seemed distant, muffled. She tried to stand, but her legs would not cooperate. The third warrior approached slowly, confidently. He knew the fight was over. Through her blurred vision, Maya saw movement in the diplomatic box. Captain Ortega was standing, her hand on her weapon. She was ready to intervene, to start an intergalactic incident if it meant saving Maya's life. No. Maya could not let that happen. Not after coming this far. She planted her hands in the sand and pushed herself up. Her legs shook, but they held. Blood dripped from a cut above her eye, and her ribs screamed with each breath. But she was standing. The warrior stopped, surprise crossing his face. The human should have stayed down. Any reasonable being would have stayed down. Maya wiped the blood from her eye and raised her fists. Her hands trembled, but her eyes were clear and focused. The other two warriors had recovered and moved to join their companion. All three stood together now, facing Maya. They exchanged glances, communicating silently. There was something different in their expressions. Not just surprise, but something else. Respect. They came at her together, but slower this time. Almost cautious. Maya met them with everything she had left. She blocked a strike and countered with an elbow to a throat. She caught a grabbing hand and twisted, forcing the warrior to bend or have his wrist broken. She ducked under a reaching arm and delivered a kick to a knee joint. But there were three of them and only one of her. For every hit she landed, two more got through her defense. A fist caught her shoulder, spinning her around. Another strike hit her back, driving her to one knee. She was losing. Her body had nothing left to give. One of the warriors moved behind her and wrapped his arms around her neck, applying a chokehold. Maya's vision started to darken. She had seconds before unconsciousness. In desperation, she drove her elbow back into the warrior's ribs, once, twice, 3 times. The grip loosened slightly. She tucked her chin and rotated her body, slipping out of the hold just enough to breathe. But she could not get fully free. Another warrior grabbed her arm. The third moved to restrain her other arm. This was it. They had her. But then something unexpected happened. From somewhere deep inside, beyond exhaustion and pain, Maya found one last reserve of strength. Not physical strength. Something else. The determination that had driven her through years of training. The refusal to quit that made her a soldier. The simple, stubborn fact that she was human, and humans did not know when to give up. She screamed, a primal sound of pure defiance, and exploded in emotion. Her movements were not pretty or technical anymore. They were raw survival. She bit the arm holding her neck. She stomped on a foot with all her weight. She headbutted the warrior in front of her, not caring that it hurt her as much as it hurt him. The warriors, surprised by this savage final burst of resistance, loosened their grips for just a moment. It was enough. Maya twisted free and staggered backward. The 3 warriors stood between her and the arena center, blocking her path. Her vision swam, and she could barely keep her balance. But she was still standing. The warriors looked at each other, then at Maya, then at their clan leader watching from the side of the arena. They seemed to be waiting for something. Vortak stepped forward, his massive presence commanding everyone's attention. He studied Maya for a long moment. She met his eyes, refusing to look away, even though every instinct screamed at her to run or collapse or both. Then Vortak did something that shocked every Vrask in the arena. He raised his hand in the gesture of submission. Enough, his voice carried across the sand. Stop the fight. Not the bloodthirsty roar of spectators watching violence, but genuine applause and celebration. The 3 warriors she had fought approached and bowed to her. Kravok entered the arena and did the same. One by one, the Vrask warriors showed their respect. Medical personnel rushed onto the sand. Maya's legs finally gave out, but strong hands caught her before she fell. Lucas was there, running his medical scanner over her body, his face tight with concern. Captain Ortega and Ambassador Bennett reached her moments later. Helen pulled Maya into a gentle hug, careful not to hurt her injuries. "You crazy, brave, incredible soldier," Helen whispered. You just changed everything." Over the next hour, as medical staff treated Maya's injuries, representatives from over a dozen species approached the diplomatic box. They wanted to talk about trade agreements with Earth. They wanted to establish embassies. They wanted to learn about human combat techniques. But more than that, they wanted to know more about humans in general. If one human could do what Maya had done, what else were humans capable of? 3 days later, Maya stood in the station's main diplomatic hall, her ribs wrapped in medical bandages and her face still showing bruises. Clan leader Vortok stood beside her as they both signed a formal treaty. The Vrask would open all their territories to human trade. They would establish cultural exchange programs, and they wanted to send warriors to Earth to train with human combat instructors. "You showed us a different kind of strength," Vortok said as they finished signing. "My people have much to learn from yours." "And we have much to learn from yours," Maya replied diplomatically. Vortak laughed, a deep rumbling sound. Perhaps, but today, the student was the teacher. As Maya prepared to return to the HSS Horizon, she received one final surprise, a message from Earth Defense Force headquarters. Her actions on Station Kravith had opened diplomatic doors across the entire outer fringe. They were promoting her to captain and assigning her to lead a new program, training ambassadors in self-defense and cultural combat protocols. She looked out at the station's corridors one last time. Aliens of all species moved freely, trading and talking. Among them she saw Vrask warriors walking peacefully alongside species they once would have bullied. One combat instructor had changed more than she ever imagined possible. Maya smiled despite the pain in her ribs. Sometimes the greatest victories were not won with weapons or warships, but with courage, skill, and the simple choice to stand up when standing up mattered most. The Predator had grabbed her shoulder. She had shifted her weight and broken his collarbone. But more importantly, she had broken old assumptions and opened new possibilities. And that, Maya realized, was what being human was really about.